welcome to the POC Motorsports channel, and on today's video I'm going to tell you the top 10 reasons why I think this is the best half-ton four-wheel drive truck you can get for under 10 grand. Ooh, that was a nice rooster tail, just not getting the traction today.
Number 1!
The engine. The LS-based engine is probably the number one reason why this is a great truck. This engine is just bulletproof, reliable, you can make a ton of power, they're pretty efficient, and they don't really leak oil. And now, mine doesn't look completely normal because it's slightly modified, like the headers and the cold air intake, and I'm missing my engine cover there. I don't know where that went. But anywho's, GM's been making small block Chevys since the mid-50s, and they just kept getting better and better and better. So that's, you know, by the time this came out, they'd been doing this more than 40 years. Okay, and this is several revisions in. These things are just, they got all the bugs worked out, okay? They don't leak oil. The seals are amazing. You can reuse most of them. There are very few companies that make an intake that'll outperform the factory intake. So, I mean, it's honestly hard to improve on these things. And they're bulletproof. You put a turbo on one of these, you can make a ton of power. And, you know, they just go hundreds of thousands of miles. So, I ran mine without a fan for years, just because I thought it'd get better gas mileage, and it was hardly noticeable. But anyways, I didn't have an overheating issue at all. I mean, everything is just dialed in.
Number 2!
If you can do some basic wrench swinging, like, oh, just gonna swing it.
They're super easy to work on. If you've ever swung a wrench and you're somewhat savvy with one, you can do all the work that is required to keep these things on the road up to 200,000 or 300,000 miles.
Number 3!
The 99 to 2007 Classic was the first body style where it was common to have the four-door crew cab. And that's pretty sweet, especially if you like hauling your furry friends around. Or people friends, if you have those.
Number 4!
The ride. It's amazing. I grew up on a farm where we had almost every generation of Chevy pickup that we used for work trucks. Not a lot before 69, maybe, but we had every generation after that, and none of them rode that great. I drove a 94 Chevy half-ton that my wife had for years, and it never rode that nice. And when I first drove one of these 99 to 2006 and a half Chevys, I was just blown away by the ride quality. Now, it gets better and better every year, but for a used truck under 10 grand, you really can't beat the ride. Ride's like a Cadillac, because it's the same thing.
Number 5!
They're reliable. I have never found a more reliable drivetrain than the ones that came in these trucks. I've overheated them, still got me home. I've ran them out of oil and they start knocking, still got me home. I've lost several gears in the transmission, still got me home. There is one point where I tried to do a burnout in reverse in my truck, blew reverse out of it. That is not the truck's fault at all. That's just me being dumb. But I had no reverse, so I had to strategically park for months so that I didn't have to back up. And if I did, then I was pushing my truck backwards and just, you know, to get out of a parking spot. And then after that, I lost fourth and then third. But I drove it for months and months and months until I had only first gear. Now, first gear is not enough. I was doing like 40 miles an hour and my truck was just wrapped up, which is no good.
Number 6!
They're very common. They're a dime a dozen. Parts are super cheap because of that. You can go to almost any wrecking yard in the United States and find many, many spare trucks that you could take parts off of to keep yours on the road.
Number 7!
Look at all those miles. They last forever. I know many people with 300,000 plus miles on their truck like this, and I've seen them with 400,000 and 500,000. I don't know how they run at 400,000 or 500,000. My guess is they're probably in need of a little bit of a tune-up at that point. But mine has 225,000 miles on it, and it runs like a top.
Number 8.
The brakes. They have disc brakes on all 4 corners, which is super easy to change your brakes if you have disc brakes, and they perform better.
Number 9.
They're super affordable, which is a big deal because right now in 2022, trucks, especially, used trucks and new trucks, well, any vehicles really, used vehicles, new vehicles, they're hard to come by. There's a chip shortage. There's, dealers aren't getting new vehicles in, and trucks are appreciating right now, which is crazy. Vehicles never appreciate, but they are because we have some serious supply issues. So, if you're having trouble getting your hands on a truck and you don't need something that is really new, like less than 10 years old or less than 5 years old, then you need to get one of these trucks because they're super reliable and they last forever. And I just got on Facebook to do some research before doing this video, and in a matter of minutes I found 3 trucks that were under 10 grand and had less than 150,000 miles on them, which I think is a good deal, especially in today's economy.
Number 10.
So the last reason you need to get one of these trucks is because they are literally bulletproof. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I've had this truck for a long time. And in my younger years, there was an accidental discharge of a boomstick, let's call it. And yeah, no one was harmed. And I learned my lesson. So everybody's fine. Truck's fine. Yeah, it didn't even exit the vehicle. It kind of blew out my door handle, did that, but I gave it a paint job, and you can't even tell it happened now, but it used to have a little Audi right there. Thanks for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Out. I brought my winter shoes. Tell you about the top 10.
I give up.